In this video, we're going to review Philips' new 901F OLED TV and explain why, in our opinion, it's the best 4K OLED that we have tested to date. Coming right up. Hi everyone, this is Vincent Teo from HDTV Test here. I'm a professional TV reviewer and calibrator. In this channel, we do video reviews, video interviews, settings tips and tricks, and also the odd unboxing videos. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing by clicking the button right here. The Philips 901F is the first OLED TV from TP Vision. It uses a WRGB OLED panel from LG Display. It only comes in one screen size of 55 inches and has various features such as 4K resolution, Ultra HD Premium certification, Android Smart TV system, and various other features. The design is really quite lovely and upmarket. Because of OLED's self-illuminating display characteristic, the panel can be made to a very thin level, and you can clearly see that the bezel is extremely thin and the chassis is very slender as well. There's an integrated soundbar at the bottom of the OLED panel, which has a 6.1 sound system. It unfortunately cannot be removed for those of you who already have an existing home theater system. There's a Philips logo in the middle of the screen which can be illuminated. Fortunately, the illumination can be turned off as well. The only main problem we found with the design of this Philips 901F is the extremely wide supporting feet. As you can see, the feet are located at both ends of the OLED panel, and the support points are actually sitting even beyond the width of the screen itself. So you will need an AV rack that is at least 122 centimeters wide to put this television, or else you have to wall mount the display. If you go behind the television, you'll see that the rear is finished in a rather upmarket, rather luxurious brushed silver metallic coating, and there are various LED modules dotted around three sides of the edges. Yes, this Philips 901F wouldn't be a Philips TV without Ambilight, and the Ambilight version that has been included on the set is a three-sided version that spans the sides and also the top of the display. Among the many connection ports, there are 4 HDMI 2.0 inputs. Using a Meridio 6G signal generator, we verified that all 4 ports can transmit HDR metadata with HDCP 2.2, so you shouldn't have any problem hooking up your 4K Blu-ray player to any one of them. All OLED TVs can produce true blacks due to the technology's self-emissive characteristic, but some manufacturers have found it more difficult to render the area just above black in a cleaner fashion. Now, this Philips 901F has the cleanest gradation that we have seen among all the OLEDs that we've reviewed. And we say that not only because we are doing it from memory, but because we just happen to have a 2016 LG OLED in our test room for side-by-side comparison for the purpose of this review. In many dark scenes, we have compared side-by-side between this Philips 901F and the LG OLED, and this Philips consistently rendered the area just above black in a cleaner and less noisy fashion. There's certainly less posterization and less dithering noise compared with 2016 LG OLEDs. Now, don't get us wrong, the 2016 LG OLEDs has actually been improved over the 2015 OLEDs, which was frankly, in some scenes, poorly compressed dark scenes like those from Games of Thrones were frankly unwatchable. But the 2016 OLEDs have actually improved upon it. But this Philips OLED has taken it to the next level. I would go so far as to say that the above black handling and gradation and rendering is as clean as the top tier LED LCDs and the top tier plasmas. Color fidelity is where this Philips OLED falls down slightly, and the reason is because of insufficient calibration controls. Let me show you. If we go into the user menu, click on all settings, go to the advanced options, and go to color temperature. To calibrate the white balance, you have to set the color temperature to custom, which is very cool initially. And custom color temperature consists of only a 2-point white balance system where you can adjust the red, green, and blue white point and the red, green, and blue black level. 2-point white balance was enough for us to actually get a reasonable grayscale from this display. But when you consider that the LG OLEDs have a 20-point white balance controls, Panasonic displays have a 10-point white balance system with direct display control. This means that we can actually make the adjustments directly from the laptop, avoiding any sort of menu appearing on screen. So Panasonic has 10-point white balance control with DDC. Sony displays in general, for the last year and this year anyway, have 10-point white balance controls. Samsung QLED TV this year will have 20-point white balance controls with DDC as well, with direct display control as well, in conjunction with Spectracal's software, calibration software Kalman, which we use. Then I think going forward, it is not enough for Philips to just hang on to 2-point white balance. We have compared a few scenes on this Philips OLED versus the LG OLED we have in our test room. Both of them are calibrated to a very, very high level, and in some dark scenes we can certainly see a magenta tint creeping into the darker scenes on this Philips OLED, and the reason is because of imprecise calibration controls that cannot actually adjust the darkest end of the spectrum, of the grayscale spectrum, to an accurate enough degree. Now, of course, most of the viewers, most people, most buyers, most owners probably won't even bother getting their TVs calibrated, or won't bother hiring a professional calibrator to do so. But if you care about color accuracy, then one way to get accurate colors on this Philips OLED is to, if you like all its other features of Ambilight, higher motion clarity, and cleaner above black handling, is to purchase a separate external color processor. There's one on the market called EE Color. I'll put the link in the description below, which allows you to adjust the colors and correct the colors in a multi-point fashion in what we term as the 3D LUT, a 3D lookup table. And then you connect this device to the television and it'll produce the most accurate colors from the box itself, rather than using the color management system on the TV itself. Talking of which, the color measurement system for calibrators out there, or for those who wish to calibrate their Philips television, is also slightly tricky, because if we go to the user menu again, and if we adjust the colors, the color management system on this for Philips TV, on most Philips TV anyway, consists only of a 2-axis system, hue and saturation. The problem is this: when professional calibrators calibrate a television and they want to achieve the best result, they usually calibrate hue, saturation, and luminance for one single color before moving on to the next. But on this TV, it is quite difficult to do, because the colors are divided into hue and saturation subpages rather than per color pages. So let's say if I wanted to adjust the red hue, I have to make the adjustment, and then I will need to move on to saturation. But on other TVs, let's say Panasonic, Samsung, and LG televisions, you can adjust it saturation in the next, let's say in the next level of control. But on this TV, you have to go back out, go to the saturation submenu, and then go and adjust red again. And because each adjustment interact with each other, once you adjust this, you'll have to go back to hue to check again. This takes a lot of time and is very, very convoluted. So we certainly hope that Philips engineers, TP Vision engineers, can consider trying to emulate what other manufacturers are doing in terms of putting all the hue, saturation, and if they consider adding luminance or brightness controls within a single color, within one single page. Motion is where this Philips OLED TV really shines. Motion handling is superb. Panning shots either in 4K Blu-rays, just 1080p Blu-rays, as long as it's 24 Hz, the display is 24 Hz, and also live sports broadcast from 50 Hz interlaced video, which is what happens in the UK. It is all extremely smooth without any judder or stuttering. In terms of motion clarity, this display, this Philips OLED, also has the highest motion resolution that we've ever measured without needing the help of interpolation. I've done a video before, but I'll show you again the correct settings to actually achieve this. If we go into the settings again, perfect natural motion is basic frame interpolation, and it can cause interpolation artifacts and soap opera effect in 24p film. So we usually advise people to leave it off. Now, perfect clear motion is much more useful. It actually increased the motion resolution from the sample and hold baseline of 300 lines, more than doubling it to 650 lines. And the amazing thing about this perfect clear motion, which we think is an evolution of the clear LCD, of Philips clear LCD technology, given that in the description clear LCD is still written there. So it's an evolution of clear LCD technology. This perfect clear motion, that more than double motion resolution, yet it doesn't actually introduce any interpolation artifacts or soap opera effect. We've tested it using our interpolation detector. Also, amazingly, it doesn't actually introduce any visible flicker or screen dimness, which is normally associated with black frame insertion. This is certainly the highest motion clarity that we've actually seen from 4K OLED so far. We watched quite a fair bit, our fair share of football on this television, and it delivered the sharpest motion whenever there's panning shot. Obviously, there's still going to be blur because 650 lines is not going to be as clear as, let's say, the true impulse type displays like CRTs or plasmas, but it is better than, let's say, the 300 lines that the LG OLEDs are capable of without. You can boost the LG OLED to 650 lines by using their true motion control, but there's usually some hiccups, some artifacts here and there. This is fairly hiccup free, and we are not entirely sure what Philips or TP Vision is doing in terms of perfect clear motion. We're still investigating, but it is a very good option that shouldn't be left off. Perfect clear motion. Perfect clear motion is also responsible for 5.5 pull down, so that panning shots in 1080p 24 frames Blu-ray is displayed quite smoothly without any telecine judder. The Philips 901F OLED doesn't support 3D, which is, in our opinion, a slight shame, because some of the best 3D we have experienced have come from 4K OLED due to the combination of passive 3D filter and 4K UHD resolution, which is down-res to 1080p, the native resolution of 3D Blu-rays. Then again, none of the manufacturers in 2017 are supporting 3D on their 2017 sets, except for Panasonic, who have come up with the only 3D television we know of for the year ahead, which is the Panasonic EX750 in the UK or the EX780 in Europe. It will have active 3D. If you are a 3D enthusiast, maybe you want to make a beeline for the Panasonic booth. In terms of HDR or high dynamic range, the Philips 55POS901F supports HDR10 format from 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays and also streaming services such as Netflix 4K and Amazon Video Prime. But it doesn't support Dolby Vision despite a Dolby logo appearing at the bottom right of the inbuilt soundbar. As far as HLG is concerned, HLG stands for Hybrid Log Gamma, which is the primary standard for broadcast HDR. We've been informed by TP Vision that this TV can be firmware upgraded to support HLG, but whether the firmware upgrade will be rolled out is still under consideration. When you watch 4K Blu-ray movies on the Philips 55POS901F, you should strongly consider using the HDR movie mode, because it is the picture preset for which this TV has been certified for Ultra HD Premium certification. Even with the default settings in the HDR movie mode, we found that it was extremely good to go. There's not much that we need to actually do. Peak brightness came in at 640 nits and DCI-P3 coverage will reach around 99%, both parameters comfortably exceeding the minimum specifications defined by the UHD Alliance for Ultra HD Premium certification. We only needed to increase the color by a few clicks to correct the initial undersaturation in colors. In terms of tracking of the PQ EOTF standard, PQ stands for perceptual quantization and EOTF stands for electro-optical transfer function. This dictates how the source signal should be mapped to the screen brightness. In terms of following the standard, in the HDR movie mode, without us needing to do too much at all, the TV was already tracking the PQ curve very accurately up until around 400 nits, after which the display started to tone map to display more highlight detail beyond its peak brightness capability. Now, when we watch quite a few 4K Blu-ray movies on this TV, we felt that it is actually holding its own quite well against the LED LCDs. In fact, I think when it is 4K Blu-ray movies that are mastered to 1000 nits, I think it is more than a match for the full array local dimming LED LCDs. OLED, because of its self-illuminating nature and per pixel control that the technology is famous for, they can maintain their inky blacks without suffering from any haloing or blooming artifacts that can afflict even the best of the full array local dimming LED LCDs. It is only when we started watching discs that are mastered to 4000 nits that we thought that the LED LCDs overtook the OLED in terms of the realism and impact. Explosions and lightning bolts and electricity crackles and fires, they all look more realistic and impactful on the flagship LED LCDs, such as the Panasonic DX902 that is capable of 1200 nits of peak brightness, the Samsung KS9500 which is capable of 1600 nits of peak brightness, and the Sony ZD9 which can reach 1800 nits of peak brightness. However, in the darker scenes, the OLED will always have the advantage because of this pixel level control, the blacks won't get elevated and there won't be any haloing or blooming artifacts. Input lag was higher on the Philips 901F OLED television. We took some measurements using a Leo-Bodnar tester, and in game mode, the figure came up to around 59 milliseconds, whereas it was only slightly faster at about 57 milliseconds in HDR game mode. This is slightly disappointing because we know that TP Vision has been working hard on reducing the input lag on their LED LCDs for the past couple of years. 60 milliseconds is not the worst figure we've seen from the company or any company in fact, but it's not the quickest either. We know that in year 2017, for this year, many TV manufacturers are aiming for an input lag of 20 milliseconds or even below to appeal to video gamers who is basically descending into a numbers games now, and many gamers are just looking for the TV with the lowest input lag when considering their purchase. So this is something that Philips or TP Vision should actually pay attention to when developing their TVs for the future. We cannot finish a review of a Philips television without talking about Ambilight. Now, I know that some OLED TV owners prefer to watch in pitch black conditions, and I fully understand their stance because only in total darkness you can truly appreciate the inky blacks that OLED can render because of their self-emissive characteristic. However, consider this: if you watch in a pitch black room, your pupils will constantly have to dilate and constrict repeatedly in response to the brightness changes on screen. Let's say there's a scene or sequence that cuts from bright to dark very quickly. Your pupils have to dilate or constrict very quickly too. That's just our biological response. Over a prolonged period of viewing, this can be quite tiring. This is where Ambilight comes in fairly useful. If you set it to provide a constant level of baseline illumination, what it will do is to provide a baseline level of lighting for your pupils to get used to, so that your pupils don't get overworked by repeatedly constricting and dilating in response to the brightness change on screen. In summary, the 901F is not only the best TV that Philips has ever produced, it is also, in our opinion, the best 4K OLED we've reviewed so far because of superior motion clarity and cleaner above black rendition. At £2,800, it is significantly more expensive than LG's 55-inch B6, which in addition to the price advantage will have Dolby Vision compatibility, lower input lag, and more accurate grayscale after calibration. However, buying high-end TVs has always been subject to the laws of diminishing returns, and if you have been frustrated by the near black and motion shortcomings on LG OLEDs, and if you want to buy an OLED today at this moment in time, then the Philips OLED is the only ticket in town. If you found this video useful, please give it a like and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for future videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time.